Hello guys, Loz here with FatbossTV.
And Alex.
And today we are talking about the Warlords of Draenor, which has recently been announced. Pretty sure most of you knew it was coming. There's quite a few leaks regarding it here and there. Obviously Blizzcon's just come through and a lot of things have been announced. Me and Alex are doing a little video series here, probably about 4 or 5 videos. We're going to go through all the things that happened at Blizzcon. We're going to be talking about everything that's been announced about the Warlords of Draenor, World of Warcraft expansion. We're going to go through what our thoughts are, and we're also going to be talking about where the game is going.
So mainly in this video, what we're going to be focusing on is the actual new world itself, Draenor, and we're going to be covering all the zones and everything like that. So to start off, you kind of need to know what Draenor is, because it's a little bit more complicated than something like Northrend or Mist or something like that. It's a bit more complicated. Now, Draenor was the homeworld of the Orcish race before they came to Azeroth and like through loads of portals and shit like that, which we'll cover in a second. And it was also one of the last places that the Draenei settled before they came to Azeroth, because they were running away from Draenor because it was all going tits up. Now, in terms of storyline, this is actually going back way like to the first game, Orcs and Humans, so the Warcraft game, Orcs and Humans. Now, Draenor was a planet that was the home of all the orcs, and mainly one of the orc shamans called Ner'zhul. Now what he wanted to do, he wanted to open up a bunch of portals so he can go all around into loads of different worlds and pretty much rape and pillage, get everything they want and come back and have a good laugh, because they were kind of bored in their own planet. Now the problem is that they did open a portal up to Azeroth. The orcs came through, and then the Alliance were like, nah, fuck off. So the orcs came back, but then Medivh was like, nah, come back, it's fine now. It all got a little bit complicated, but basically Draenor had so many portals going to it, it kind of just got a bit much for the old planet, and it exploded. And it was thrown into the nether, and the only bits that were remaining and a bit hospitable, which you could live in, is now what we call Outland today. Now that we're going to be visiting Draenor, but Outland exists at the same time, the only way we're going to be getting there, and it has been confirmed, that we're actually travelling back in time through the Dark Portal, but still back in time. Now how this will continue on from Mists of Pandaria, now this is spoiler territory, everyone, so if you don't want to be here, go away. Now, basically, Garrosh, after you defeat him in the Siege of Orgrimmar, and he's being held, and he's going to be put on trial just before he gets his verdict, he's going to escape. Wow. With the help of an unknown, well, at the moment we don't know who it is, a mystery friend with time travel capabilities. What they're going to do is they're going to go back in time, they're going to go to Draenor, and before the orcs, drink the blood of Manoroth. So you might be thinking, what the fuck is blood of Manoroth? So we're going to go back a little bit more, don't worry, this is as deep as we're going, no more Inception. So basically, this is when the orcs became infused with fell energy and started to work with the Burning Legion. Basically, orcs on Draenor, it was all pretty chilled, to be honest, and the Draenei, they were kind of having a little bit of a fight, but it weren't too bad, but they were all in separate clans. And Gul'dan, who's some orc shaman who turned out to be a massive bastard, he was just like, oh, don't you want more power to everyone? And he manipulated them, and he made a bond with the Burning Legion, and he said to all the clans, if you drink from this blood of Manoroth, you're going to be really, really strong and powerful, and you're going to be really great. So all the orc clans, they did it, they infused themselves, well, most of them did, they infused themselves with the blood of Manoroth, and then they went absolutely crazy, and they became controlled by the Burning Legion, and that's why they just went absolutely ape shit. They started going through portals and shit just to fuck everything up, and that's kind of what they get led to. So what Garrosh is going back to do, he's going back to stop them from going absolutely crazy, because he wants a true orcish horde before they get corrupted by the blood of Manoroth, and he wants to put them all together into an Iron Horde.
So you're probably sitting there thinking, oh my god, another expansion that leads up with Garrosh as a last boss. Well, fortunately, Blizzard did say that they don't have any plans for Garrosh to be like a Lich King or an Illidan or a Kel'Thuzad. He's obviously an important figure, and he's going to be like an important part of this expansion within the timeline, but they don't plan for him to be any sort of major end boss. But it doesn't mean that you might not see him in a raid. There's still a possibility that you could see him in a raid somewhere. But for the early parts of the expansion, especially right at the very, very start, you go to Draenor to try and stop Garrosh from forming his Iron Horde. Well, it already sort of exists, but you want to stop it from getting stronger, and you want to prevent him from going over into the current Azeroth and taking over, because obviously it affects you in current time existence.
The problem with this as well is that because he's gone back and stopped them from drinking the blood of Manoroth, which means that Ner'zhul won't be a bastard and open up all these portals and everything, that means that the Horde will never be formed. That means that the Horde at the moment is like formed from Thrall and everyone like that who's come through the portal, and they've done a bunch of stuff, which does mean that without the Horde, that means that the Lich King would have probably just gone absolutely apeshit and just completely killed everyone, because there'll be no one to really stop him. Like, the Alliance alone aren't strong enough to stop him. They needed the Horde as well. Same with the Burning Crusade. Like, you needed the Horde as well to stop the Burning Legion, and all this kind of stuff it really messes everything up. So of course we've got to go back and sort it out before Garrosh comes in and just ruins everything. He's just being a bit of a dick. So that's the kind of whole idea of what we're doing this expansion, is we're kind of playing Doctor Who. Which is fine, I'm alright with that.
So before the expansion does come out, they did announce that there will be some sort of pre-expansion event, much like with Cataclysm, you know, where you had to go to the islands in Durotan. I think Alliance had a separate one, I'm not quite sure on that, sorry about that. Don't play Alliance. But there is going to be a pre-expansion event that will allow both factions to go through the Dark Portal. You will probably go to Draenor, or you'll go to something that looks very, very similar to Draenor. And you will probably have various different quest lines just to keep you up to date with the lore, because it's all been written as we're sort of talking now, really.
Yeah.
They're making up as they go along, because we have sort of got to that point with the game. But yeah, there will be that pre-expansion event, which is looking pretty interesting. But now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about, like, Draenor itself. Because in a way, you're probably thinking, well, if Outland is Draenor, won't Draenor just look exactly the same? And Blizzard took this on board and they thought about it, and they've decided to completely rebuild Outland in, well, Draenor. So it's completely different. It's slightly similar in scale. It's maybe slightly bigger, but all the zones look completely different and have been changed, like, entirely.
You might see some familiar land like scapes or marks, so like maybe in like Terakar Forest, which is now known as Talador, you might remember, oh, there was that giant cliff there and it's still there, because they're trying to keep some things similar and you might recognize it there, here and there, but the whole like aesthetic of the place has been completely turned upside down, because this isn't completely fel corrupted anymore. This place is a living, breathing place.
So Planet Draenor does have 7 zones. Now, on the northwest, you have Frostfire Ridge. On the north, you have Gorgrond. On the east, you have Tanan Jungle. On the southeast, you have Shadowmoon Valley, which obviously already exists in Outland. You have a new zone, Spires of Arak, in the south. You have Talador, which is sort of centralized, which is your present-day Terakar Forest. And you still have Nagrand on the west, which is obviously Nagrand in current times as well. Now, Frostfire Ridge, this is going to be like the Horde starting area. This zone is like a frozen tundra filled with like active volcanoes. And it's the home of the Frostwolf clan and the Bladespire Fortress, which is the new Horde city. However, it's not immediately the new Horde city. You do have to go through a couple of quests, a couple of events, where you have to take the city over from a load of ogres that have overtaken it and stuff like that. There's a load of lore that comes in with that. But generally, as you can see from the previews, it looks pretty insane.
Yeah, it looks like a really good place.
It looks like a pretty good zone. And if we move down to southeast, where Shadowmoon Valley is, this is where the Alliance starting zone is. And as you can see, Shadowmoon Valley has changed completely.
Yeah, a lot.
It no longer has any felfire, all the lava's gone, and it's now sort of like a tranquil, rolling hill, moonlit zone. It's never daylight here, it's always nighttime, and it looks pretty insane. And the Alliance main city here is the Karabor, which in present day is the Black Temple. And before, like the Horde, before you actually get access to this, you do need to like fight off the Iron Horde to get in.
Yeah.
Rather than ogres this time. You just have to prevent like the Shadowmoon clan and Ner'zhul. You just have like a little battle with them, and then you take it back, and this sort of becomes your main city.
Now moving up to the north, you've got Gorgrond. Now this is like a really desolate, deserty area, but it's quite geologically active as well. It's got lots of steam vents and like all that kind of good stuff, and it is home to the Blackrock clan. Now the Blackrock clan in this sort of area, like they're with the Iron Horde, and they're like all to do with building machines and stuff like that, and Garrosh has come here with all like this technology from the future of all these war machines and shit, and the Blackrock clan are like, hell yeah, we'll make that. So they're very much working with him. There's at least one instance in here, a 5-man dungeon that's going to be here, as well as a raid as well, and we're going to be talking about that in another video, so there's going to be an annotation here that will link you over to that. So if you want to learn more about the raid and the instances, go click on that.
Now Talador right in the middle, which is your present day Terakar Forest. This zone still has your Orcandown, and this is slightly different. Obviously your present day Orcandown is like destroyed and smashed up, but back in this time, it's seen very, very highly. It's almost a temple for the Draenei. This is where they like to go when they die. It's like, you know, it's a very spiritual place for them. There are a few 5-man instances here, so you can go through exploring all that, which looks pretty interesting. Now, Shatruff still exists here. However, it's now on a coastline, and you're probably thinking, where the fuck did Zangarmarsh go? Zangarmarsh at this point is actually Zanga Sea. Zangarmarsh itself is under the sea.
Yeah, it hasn't fully formed into a Zangarmarsh. It hasn't turned into a marsh, and now it's just Zanga Sea, not Zangarmarsh. So that's pretty fucking cool. That it doesn't even exist anymore. It's just some sea. Apparently there's some toadstools and stuff there, they said, but we haven't got any footage of that at all. So that's going to be really interesting to see.
Now Nagrand, unfortunately, wasn't given any looks at all. There's a bit of concept art, but there's no real footage of it just yet. And this is where you'll have your first raid instance. And again, if you want to learn more about what's happening with the raids and how the raiding is going to be working, click on the annotation. That'll take you to our other discussion video. But mainly the whole idea of Nagrand is that when Outland was formed after Draenor did blow up, Nagrand was pretty much untouched.
Yeah.
There'll probably be less floaty islands because you're no longer in the Nether. But either way, it looks pretty interesting. It's going to be far more ogres than there are already in Nagrand by the sounds of it. And as you know, in the current Nagrand, there's a lot of ogres. So that's going to be pretty interesting. And the raid instance there itself is High Moor, which is filled with ogres.
Yeah,
So,
and there's also going to be stuff about the Throne of Elements there, and apparently there's some mists coming from the middle of it. It's going to be quite interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it, so that should be a zone to keep your eye on, see if they've really fucked up an old favourite or if they've made it a lot better. Now, Tannan Jungle is over on the right-hand side, and now this is what Hellfire Peninsula used to be. This is where that whole Hellfire area was, except it's a jungle now. It's full of thick, dangerous jungle forest, and it's got all like spiky plants and shit, and there's like horrible clans there that completely kill you, all the Orcish clans, and this is where the Dark Portal is as well. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how much they've changed Hellfire Peninsula, because that was a horrible, barren, fiery, Hellfire, horrible place, and now it's just like a really luscious yet dangerous jungle, so that's going to be really awesome.
and the southernmost zone, which is the Spires of Arak, is like a swampy flat land. However, it has ginormous spikes, like spires coming out of the ground. And this place seems to be home of the Arakoa, which is the bird turkey men from Terakar Forest.
Yeah.
Which is going to be pretty interesting to see what they were like back then rather than present day.
Yeah.
No doubts they've got new skins and models and all that. But yeah, there's no preview of them just yet. But the zone itself looks pretty interesting, looks like they can do quite a lot with it. So they're all like the named zones, but they're also, as you may have noticed, there are a few islands as well. In the bottom left of the continent, you can actually see quite a large island. This island is going to be for like ogres. It's where the ogres originated from. This is where they evolved, if you like. This is where they originally came from. They haven't given much more information than that. I don't know if there'll be like a raid instance there. Maybe there's a 5-man there or something. But I'm guessing it'll be like some sort of daily hub or something like that. But it seems pretty interesting. Again, not much information on that. As for the top right, this is Ferelon. This island isn't going to be released initially, but they have said that it will be released on a later patch at some point, probably one of the first patches that comes out after 6.0. But yeah, again, that looks pretty interesting. And on the far right, which is like in the Tannan jungle area, this is actually going to be the new PvP island, and we talk about all the PvP changes and the world PvP zone, which is this little island, in a separate video. Click up on the annotation, that'll take you straight to it. So there are all the new zones. They haven't said that they were going to be introducing any more zones. Obviously, there is a chance that they could release the Giants type world boss somewhere, or something like that. Maybe they might do that, but this is what they got for now, at least. It seems pretty interesting, pretty stoked for it, really. I mean,
it's going to be awesome.
I like the way that they try and keep the feel of Outland. Because obviously, ultimately, Outland is Draenor. It's just Draenor exploded. They have kept some similarities there, but it's very nice to see that they have completely reworked it. It looks completely different. So essentially, no one's getting ripped off by just doing the same content that they've already done.
Just reskinned.
Yeah, and it's an interesting way of doing it as well, that we have sort of gone back in time. It seems almost, in a way, slightly cheesy, but I think the way they're doing it is going to be pretty fun to do, and ultimately, because they are writing the new storyline of the game as they go along, it's pretty fun to take part, and no one really knows what's going to happen. I'm sure there's quite a lot of people out there could theorize like what's going to happen, who's doing what, through educated guesses and whatnot, but either way, looks pretty fucking interesting. Looking forward to it.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy this video, then please do give us a thumbs up. It helps us out a lot. Also, what do you guys think? Let us know down in the comment section below. The new YouTube one that's a pile of wank. We'll still read through it the best we can. To tell us what you think about all the zones. And are you stoked for the new World of Warcraft expansion? Because personally, I think me and Loz, we really, really are. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure if you want to watch any of our other BlizzCon coverage videos where we break down the things that happened at BlizzCon and talk about it, then do click up on the annotations. They'll take you over to those videos as well. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.